Hello and welcome to Celebrities and Audience Members Alike from your video host, Joel Castelli. May I congratulate our soon-to-be crowned Academy Award winners. My video tonight, as part of a larger series, will enlighten you all to a brief summary of the origins and pioneers of cinematic achievement, namely, how film came to be. Well, without further ado, let us commence. Our story begins in around 1835 when photography was officially invented, although things didn't really pick up until 1888, when inventor George Eastman develops the celluloid roll film. Straight away, the first moving pictures were created. The oldest surviving celluloid roll film is the Roundhay Garden Scene, directed by Louis de Prince in 1888. Soon after, Thomas Edison produced the kinetoscope, the first medium used to show films. Skip ahead to 1895. Two French brothers, Auguste and Louis Lumière, not only invented the film projector but also produced Sortie des Usines Lumière à Lyon, the very first film publicly registered and projected. The film was 50 seconds long, in which simply workers left the factory. They did produce more films which began to gain publicity and amaze people. Even if these films consisted only of a train arriving, it was brand new to the world. As more people jumped on the bandwagon, more and more short films were released, including several of Edison's, such as The Kiss. By the end of the century, several film companies were competing to make better films. Their films remained very simple. It wasn't until around this time that the fiction film was born, through the magician Georges Méliès. As seen in his best-known work, A Trip to the Moon, Méliès was the first person to use the idea of a constructed fantasy instead of filming a common real-life event. Méliès combined the majesty of a stage play with the magic of a camera, using dramatic painted sets, the first special effects, as well as some of the first fades. Méliès was set apart as an innovator from the beginning and inspired many up-and-coming filmmakers, one of them, Edwin S. Porter. Porter's films were a step up from Méliès, as shown here in Life of an American Fireman. What was different about Porter's films involved the editing style. For the first time, the idea of parallel actions was introduced, implying that the same thing is happening in two different places, such as inside this building and outside of it. This idea was even better enforced, however, in Porter's next film, by far his most famous, The Great Train Robbery. An interesting development of The Great Train Robbery was that Porter cut between the scenes without letting them finish. This was a momentous step away from Méliès' strict stage play style. Besides that, The Great Train Robbery used daring camera angles and panning shots, as well as using exciting special effects, which made the film a huge commercial success, certainly much more so than any other film so far. In 1906, also, it is worth mentioning that animation was being well developed. The first animated film, Humorous Phases of Funny Faces, was made to look like drawings on a chalkboard. 1908. Films were now so popular that the first Nickelodeon theaters were being constructed. The cinema bar was being raised from year to year, and in 1915, D.W. Griffith did it again with the release of The Birth of a Nation, expanding on filming techniques so well that he is now widely known as the father of film. Griffith embodied his style in the editing technique of classical cutting, which focuses much more on drama and emotional intensity rather than merely developing the plot or continuity of an action. Instead, actions are insinuated if they are obvious, and expressions are shown via close-ups and special emphasizing angles and shots. In Birth of a Nation, Griffith used many cameras to film the battle scenes, developed the eyeline shot, and even advanced the proverbial chase scene. This hugely successful movie was followed closely by his second larger-scale picture, Intolerance. Parallel actions interwoven in 4 different stories, each embodied by a specific color of the frame, not to mention superbly using the fantasy insert, time-lapses, and a powerful thematic connection. These are just a handful of the important characteristics Griffith developed through the making of Intolerance. It is easy to see why he was known as the father of film. After Griffith, the cinematic industry simply rocketed. Several important film pioneers made a lasting contribution, Russia especially. Sergei Eisenstein's famous silent films, most notably The Battleship Potemkin in 1925, inspired countless people in the film industry with its amazingly developed montages of shots and the emotional reactions it stirred in audiences. In 1927, The Jazz Singer came out, notable as it was the first movie to integrate synchronized dialogue sequences. 12 years later, film Technicolor came into wide effect, illustrated here in the bright 1939 film Wizard of Oz. Still today, film is being developed and improved on. Although we think of the Lumière brothers, Méliès, Porter, and Griffith as being film pioneers, in another 100 years it could be accepted that directors of our age, Lucas, Spielberg, Jackson, were just as integral to film's development as they were. And so, this history must come to a close. Enjoy the rest of your award night, and good luck to the nominees. I only leave you with this question. Do you feel lucky?
Well, do you, punk?
Mammy, Mammy, the sun shines east, the sun shines west, but I know where the time's best. Mammy, Mammy, my heartstrings are tangled around